Welcome to CHAT's 2022 Spring Exhibition, Spinning East Asia Series 2, A Net Disentangled. I'm Wang Weiwei, I'm the curator of this exhibition. You can tell from the title that this exhibition borrowed the simultaneous actions of entangling and disentangling yarns as a metaphor to reimagine and explore the interdependent yet conflicted web of East Asian relations. Such discussion also provides us a reference to think about today's globalized world, which is full of crises. From the grand perspective to more humanized individual angle, this exhibition is also exploring how we can position ourselves within a larger complexity. We invited 16 groups of artists who are based in East Asia, or their creative research revolves around East Asian topics. Textile serves not only as a symbolic element, but a unifying thread that runs through every work. You will see several artists use textile as material or technique in their works, or explore East Asian history and society through examining textile techniques or industry, while other artists use textile as a metaphor to inspire their thinking process and artistic practices. As you walk into the exhibition, you will first see two works inspired by the concept of textiles. The first work is a series of woven paintings by artist Ta Song-on to open this exhibition in an abstract but poetic way. In her practice, Ta Song-on first splashed black paint onto the web to create wavy black lines, and as she weaves, she creates regular or improvised patterns according to the location of the inked parts. Through her unique techniques, Ta Song-on's weaving work combines regularity with chances. It encouraged us to think, as individuals or groups, we are entangled in these ink-splashed accidents, mistakes, reconciliation, and forgiveness, weaving together to create an intricate picture. Next to Ta Song-on's works, you will see Man Meito's installation, Diffusing Linear Body. This series spans across sculptures, painting, and other mediums. These works resonate with each other and reveal how threads seemingly contradictory states and qualities. Its softness, sharpness, lightness, and tautness can be embodied and transformed in one. This also stands as a metaphor for individuals situating themselves within a complicated social environment. Before entering Gallery 1, you may notice some colorful crystal-lined objects in the corners of an arcade. They are part of the sculpture series by Korean artist Park Ji-hee. Let's first have a look at the larger sculpture located in the D.H. Chen Foundation Gallery. In summer 2021, Park Ji-hee visited the Muse, where she collected mold samples and made several silicone imprints of old textile machines and architectural surfaces. After bringing the molds back to soil for cultivation, she extracted pigments and mixed them with resin, using silicone molds to create solid crystal blocks in various shapes. To the artist, the growth and corrosion process of mold is like countless tiny time capsules that preserve clues flowing over time. You will continue to see the small pieces of this series later in some corners in the exhibition. In Gallery 1, you will first encounter a series of textile pieces created by Korean artist Suki Seokhyung-kang. Suki's artistic practices is inspired by the traditional musical notation system called Jeongganbo, invented in Joseon Dynasty. She deconstructed those traditional scoring systems and transformed it into a contemporary art language. She used those language to express the abstract and poetic metaphors of complex relations between individuals and social structures. In this exhibition, Suki worked with Hong Kong CCC Kaesung Primary School students. The students were prompted to visualize their imaginary world, that what their future might hold, and their relationships with the people around them. They then drew these pictures on grid patterned paper designed by the artist. After integrating, collaging, and coloring the students' drawings, the artist commissioned weaving and embroidery factories in Hong Kong to produce these large square textile pieces. They allow us to peer into the impact of our society's historical and cultural impact on individuals, and at the same time aspire for possible breakthroughs. If Suki Sokyonkang's works could provide us an inspiration for the future, then the three sets of works around Suki's space will lead us to the depth of East Asian history. These three sets of works look into Northeast Asia around the Second World War period. The events in this specific historical era and region have had profound impact on East Asian relations. The three artists, who come from different countries and cultures, approach similar topics in their own way to deconstruct the complicated history and the many facets of East Asia. Luca Yang Yuanyuan and Yusuke Kamata display their works together in this space. Divided by the hanging screens, each artist's works occupy one side of the room. Let's look at Luca Yang Yuanyuan's work first. In Dalian Mirage, Yuanyuan details the modern history of Dalian using various mediums, including photography, moving images, and custom-edited books. The port city of Dalian was established at the end of the 19th century under the control of Tsarist Russia. After the Russo-Japanese War, Dalian became a Japanese colony for 40 years. Now, 100 years later, old buildings and city blocks holding memories of past eras are disappearing due to China's rapid urbanization. In her work, Yuanyuan explores the intertextual relationship between image and printed text to highlight the city as a backdrop for a drama. On the other side of the room is a work entitled Japanese House by Yusuke Kamata. Since 2016, Yusuke Kamata has been researching the history of Japanese-style houses to examine various contemporary social issues. He researches houses that were built at different times and for different purposes in Japan, Korea, the United States, and Brazil. Seemingly incongruous, Japanese houses exist on different continents in the same form, but under different political and social circumstances. As a concept, Japanese-style houses break through the boundaries of being and disappearing, aggression and injury, to reveal another side of cultural history. Although Yang Yuanyuan and Yusuke Kamata's works are thematically different, they both foster discussion about the complexity of war and colonial history, notions of truth and fictionality in historical writing, and the functional transformation of urban spaces across different periods. The juxtaposed works resonate with each other to form a dialogue. In this long and narrow space, you will see a research-based work entitled The Shadowlands Yonder by Hong Kong artist Li Kai-chung and Japanese artist Isachi Yoko. The project focuses on Manchuria at the start of the 20th century, when war and colonization brought mass migration, the collapse of traditional empires, and the establishment of new nations. Based on historical documents and memories, Li Kai-chung constructed a 7-day journey of escape and repatriation through images and creative writing. Through reconstructing the psychological challenges of the journey, Li Kai-chung explores the process of identity transition under sudden political changes. On the other hand, Isachi Yoko revisited coastal repatriation sites in Japan. Mixing recordings taken from the sites with the melody of the former Manchukuo national anthem, he exposes the absurdity of the empty regime, its ill-planned immigration policy, and the hidden history behind the modern landscape. The two artists' works complement each other and collectively respond to the complexity of identity mapping and history. After going through a rather serious and heavy period of history, let's relax for a while in the video image space created by Wang Yahui. In Wang Yahui's video work, 1 and 1, she transforms ink art into a projection.
patches of ink are projected onto a wall to reflect the ebb and flow of time with the displacement of the paper. Two small white towers on the wall resemble a process of dying and fading. Light appears when a patch of ink is drawn on the paper. As brightness and darkness come into being, yin and yang coexist. The world is a totality inhabited by people. This totality is not a homogeneous experience. Instead, it can unify various heterogeneous elements to form a kind of free space. This approach of looking at people and the world in wholeness is the sense of Wang Weiwei's creative practice in recent years. Let's move on to two sets of works that attempt to challenge our usual life experiences.
In Chen Yun's space, she created a fictitious character I who lives in an era when fraternity is encouraged to persuade the demographic bonus. Here we can probe the value and belief of a fictional era where fraternity is highly recognized and honored.
Reflecting on traditional East Asian family structure and the concepts of kinship forms narrative structure of this work. The three-child policy in China and the other initiatives by government across East Asia to encourage childbirth also motivated Chen Yiyun to create this work. It prompts us to consider how is the value and the status of a woman being defined? How do modern independent women accustomed to participating in social production view their own reproductive value? With an increase in fertility rate, will modern nuclear families revert to the extended family model? And how will family ethics be challenged in the future? The last set of works in Gallery 1 is co-created by Teru Yamauchi and Tang Ki-son, also known as Matsuda Motoyoshi. Together, they developed a space for an immersive digital video experience. During the creation process, they repeatedly discuss a series of questions. Why do we want to talk about East Asia? What is East Asia and where is it? What does East Asia signify? And how can East Asia be represented? They also direct these questions back to the audiences. Navigating through both the figural and the abstract, we are asked to consider our everyday conscious and unconscious behaviors along with our habitual cultural practices, and in doing so, to extend the concept of East Asia, deconstruct it, and finally reimagine it. As you leave Gallery 1, you will see two works that revolve around the history of Hong Kong. Let's take a look at Wang Bo's work first. In his investigation into the history of human hair trade, Wang Bo uncovered an intriguing fact. Hong Kong had been the center of the global hair trade as a result of China's isolation in 1960s. But in 1965, the U.S. Department of the Treasury imposed sanctions on Chinese hair exports through Hong Kong in a communist hair embargo policy. The issuance of this law is the starting point for Wang Bo's exploration of this turbulent era. In this work, Wang Bo combines historical documents with fictional interpretation. He created the short film of A Ghost Story, which weaved together the geopolitics of the Cold War, globalization, and East Asian modernity, as well as the spectre of colonialism, continues entangling in this chaotic web that has been wandering in the cultural imagination of Hong Kong.
Now you will see 9 screens on the wall showing the video work by Horian.
Horian began his investigation into the evolution of textile production in Hong Kong and Greater China as an artist in residence at CHAT in 2021. His work Lining is the first of a planned 3-part video exploring the past 100 years of Hong Kong's textile industry and its migration to Greater China. Historical materials and interviews with former factory workers and managers are woven together with images of Hong Kong and Guangdong to chronicle Hong Kong's transformation into a post-industry city. This project has revealed a pattern of horizontal integration connecting the two cities that have long been obscured under the cloak of global capitalism. Here you will see the 3-channel video installation created by artist Zhu Junten. He spent 6 months on Shezi Island in Taipei shooting a series of video works. Shezi Island is a sandbar formed by the intersection of 2 rivers. Situated in a big city, it is an isolated island left behind by modern life. In Zhu Junten's moving images, people, things, and land are drifting to this place. From living in no fixed place to taking root, they face an unknowable past and the imminent arrival of a powerful force that will determine their future. Their anxiety and helplessness of being stuck in the middle with nowhere to go reflect the mood and situation of people in a society pulled apart by political and economic force.
Let's keep walking forward to encounter Tsubasa Kato's installation. Here you will see video and instruments of his collaborative performance with the Hong Kong local band, the Interzone Collective. The artist selected a number of pop songs that are well known across generations in Hong Kong and rearranged them to form a new piece. During the performance, the band members stood in different locations. Each of them were bound together by long bongi cords. As a result, their movements were restrained. In this act of simultaneous cooperations and conflict, the relationship between self-identity and power, collective action, and its goals become difficult to define. The exhibition extends further into CHAT Lounge, which displays 2 sets of works. You will first see the large square flowers on the windows of the arcade. They are part of Wang Yiquan's art series, Flowers of the Motherland. Wang Yiquan is interested in the traditional craft of fabric flowers as well as modern production models, from which he derives cultural connotations that weave through his research-based creations. CHAT Lounge also showcases 2 other pieces of the same series. The artist used mass-produced silk flowers and their packaging materials to create the installation piece. And the video piece, titled Very Private, is the culmination of the artist's work with silk flowers, weaving together his personal reflections with historical images. The whole series alludes to the bizarreness of Chinese society as the world's factory, as well as the people there, beautiful and cheap, proud and lowly. At the other side of CHAT Lounge, you will see a paintings installation by Li Qingyue. Using painting and text, Li Qingyue creates a new version of Sleeping Beauty. In this story, voices shape time and space. The spindle, which originally put the princess into sleep, became a kaleidoscope, showing her the long and winding road of destiny. This is the last work of this exhibition. I hope it opens your mind with more imagination. Just like the exhibition itself, I hope it will bring us reflection and empathy, allow us to understand more about how we are intertwined in the history and the reality, and help us to imagine a journey into the future, even if it is full of challenges and unknowns. Thank you for your visit. I hope this exhibition brings you some new insights on history, culture, and our everyday lives.